Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack the fascinating math and honestly, the deeply ingrained psychology behind building real wealth momentum. If you've ever felt like you're just totally stuck in a financial rut, trying so hard to save but constantly getting knocked backward, listen, you are absolutely not alone. Today, we're going to break down exactly why getting started is the hardest part and how the mechanics of money actually start to shift in your favor over time.
Saving your first $1,000 can feel almost impossible, but once you reach it, something interesting happens. I want you to really absorb that for a second. Getting those first few dollars to actually stay in a savings account is a very real, very validating struggle. It's definitely not just in your head. The system, the cost of living, the totally unexpected surprises of everyday life, they all seem perfectly designed to keep your savings at absolute zero. But today, we're going to explore that something interesting that happens when you finally break through.
Now, real quick before we get into the mechanics of how all this works, just a quick heads up. What we're covering today is strictly educational content. This isn't formal financial advice tailored to your specific situation, and it's super important to remember that whenever you're dealing with investing and growing your money, there are absolutely no guaranteed returns. Our goal here is just to explain the underlying principles so you can understand the landscape a whole lot better. All right, let's dive right into Section 1, the first $1,000 hurdle, fighting inertia. We have to start by acknowledging the heavy uphill battle of saving that very first $1,000. We're looking at two completely different phases of wealth building here. First, there's the friction of going from $0 to $1,000, and then there's the flow of moving from $1,000 to $10,000. Think about it like physics, right? Getting a giant heavy boulder to move from a dead stop takes an immense amount of energy. That's the friction. You're fighting against pure inertia. But once that boulder is actually rolling, it takes significantly less effort to keep it moving. That's the flow. When you're starting from zero, literally every single dollar you try to save is fighting against the massive friction of your current financial reality.
So, the crucial point is this specific number, $1,000. It seems impossibly large when you're just starting out, mostly because everyday American life has this nasty habit of hitting the reset button on your progress. You finally stash away $200, and then, bam, the check engine light comes on in your car. Back to zero. You scrape together another $400, and an unexpected medical bill shows up in the mail. Back to zero again. This cycle creates a kind of psychological fatigue that makes $1,000 feel like $1 million. You're just entirely exposed to the elements, financially speaking.
And that brings us to Section 2, emergency funds, reducing stress. This is where the most significant psychological shift in your entire financial journey happens. The moment you actually secure that money, everything changes. Your first $1,000 acts as a literal financial shield. When you have this cash buffer just sitting in a bank account, those everyday emergencies don't dictate your life anymore. That flat tire? It's just a flat tire now. It's an inconvenience rather than a catastrophic crisis that forces you into high-interest credit card debt. Having this shield actively lowers your cortisol levels. It pulls you completely out of survival mode. And when you aren't constantly stressed about impending financial doom, your brain frees up so much cognitive space, allowing you to make much clearer, more strategic, and forward-thinking decisions. So once that stress is reduced, you enter the next phase. Let's look at Section 3, better money habits, making saving easier.
The incredibly painful, grueling process of saving that first grand, it actually fundamentally changes your daily behavior. It comes down to these simple, everyday steps. Step 1, packing a lunch. Step 2, say no to impulse buys at the checkout counter. Step 3, automating your transfers so money moves directly to savings before you even see it. To get to your first $1,000, you really had to build these financial muscles, right? You had to learn how to delay gratification. You essentially built a giant savings jar that now fills itself because these actions aren't a massive sacrifice anymore. They're just your routine. You've completely rewired your habits. And because you've already done the hard work of behavioral change, saving the next 1,000 and the 1,000 after that becomes remarkably easier. You just aren't fighting yourself anymore. Now we transition from behavioral psychology to pure math with Section 4, compound interest, accelerating wealth. This is where your money actually starts doing the heavy lifting. So what exactly happens when your money starts working for you? Imagine you aren't the only one pushing that heavy boulder up the hill anymore. Imagine your money is putting on a pair of work boots and pushing right alongside you. This is the crucial transition from active saving, where every dollar is the result of your direct labor, to passive growth. Through the absolute magic of the snowball effect, your wealth starts to accelerate.
Initially, your hard-earned savings kind of just sit there alone. But soon, you start seeing those savings combined with some early interest. And eventually, you experience a dramatic jump, compound growth acceleration. This is when the interest you earn actually starts earning its own interest. Your money is multiplying. Now, quick reminder on our disclaimer. While the mathematical principle of compounding is basically a law of nature, actual market investments do not offer guaranteed returns. Markets will always fluctuate, but the foundational concept remains exactly the same. Consistent saving paired with time allows compounding to act as a massive accelerator. Your everyday habits are no longer the only engine driving your wealth. Time and math are now your co-pilots.
So, taking all of this into account, let's look at the broader journey. In Section 5, the next $10,000, building momentum.
$10,000. When you had $0 in your account, this number probably looked like pure fantasy. No way, right? But right now, we can see it for what it really is. Because you have the shield of an emergency fund preventing you from falling backward. Because you have these newly forged habits quietly saving money in the background. And because you have the math of compounding growth actively working in your favor, reaching this $10,000 mark is now just a matter of time. It is an accelerating downhill journey. You've already done the brutal, friction-heavy uphill push. The journey to 10,000 is really just about maintaining your footing and letting the momentum carry you forward.
Which brings us to our final and most important takeaway today. Your first $1,000 isn't just money, it's proof that you can build wealth. Take a second to really let that sink in. Getting that first $1,000 isn't just about having some cash on hand, it is undeniable physical proof that you possess the discipline, the adaptability, and the power to completely change your financial future. You conquered the friction, you changed your habits, you built the foundation. So as you look at your own savings journey moving forward, I want to leave you with this question to ponder. Once you overcome that impossible first hurdle, what will your first $1,000 be proof of for you?